This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Planning Committee meeting to order. It is Tuesday, May 26, 2026 at 7 p.m. And we have a quorum.
We do.
We have a full house. Approval of the previous minutes.
Okay, I'll move to approve the Plan Committee working session meeting minutes from Tuesday, April 28th, 2026 as presented.
Thank you, BD. In a second.
Second.
Thank you, Grace. Any correct? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, meeting minutes approved.
I move to approve the Plan Committee meeting minutes from Tuesday, April 28th, 2026 as presented.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you again, Grace. Any corrections? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Okay, minutes approved. Number 4, changes in the agenda. I have a request that we move number 16, which is discussion and consideration regarding price chimney cap enforcement, to number 5, and we take that next on the agenda. Is anybody opposed to making that change?
No.
Okay, if you're not opposed, then we're going to go on to what is now visitors' comments. Does anyone here in person or anybody online wish to make a comment, or you can wait until your item comes up? You call one? Hearing none? Okay. Now we'll go on to number 6, which is now discussion and consideration regarding the price chimney cap enforcement. Brett, maybe you want to give us a little back?
Sure. So the Price project, as we all know, very familiar with it, was a building raise and new construction in the protected waterfront district. Went back and forth through concept reviews and design meetings, ultimately leading to an approval. I guess in the time that passed between approval and when construction occurred, there was a large chimney cap, and a decorative copper, I'll call it, shroud placed on top of the chimney that went against the approval process of what this committee approved in that conditional use hearing. We had a couple iterations of back and forth with the contractor on that, and ultimately they came to an agreement with the plan committee that they would redesign that so that the top of the decorative shroud would be no more than 25 feet above the crown of State Highway 42. At that time, there was a little bit of discussion whether or not we should put a sunset or a date for that work to occur. It has not happened to date. Ken asked me, is there any update on this? The answer's been I've continued communication with the builder on it, and that has been the case over the months that have passed. Late, I've had more direct and timely responses and conversations with them. So the last I've heard, the cap has been manufactured and is slated all this Friday, weather permitting.
Maybe I'll add a little of that. Brent and I met with the Prices at their house to talk about this. This was late last fall. And as we walked away, it was my understanding that it would happen in the very near future. It was my understanding that they wanted to wait until the ground was frozen in order to bring a lift truck in and not just the vegetation, but the fall and winter has come and gone. And here we sit again with kind of a promise. So what I wanted to consider, if people are interested in having an enforcement letter go out to them, giving them a specific amount of time. I talked a little with Brent, and maybe a 30-day notice would be appropriate for the first notice, legal notice, along with a fine schedule if it's not installed in 30 days. So saying that, I'm open to comments here, what other people think about that.
I think that seems reasonable.
Okay.
Andy, we're not.
Oh, Mike, so we could just kind of take turns here.
Brent, did you just say it's going to be delivered this Friday?
The last update I had from Delirious was it was slated to be removed, then installed this Friday.
Okay, I mean, if our first instinct is okay, then it'll take care of itself within a week or so. But I like doing the letter. It's a matter of principle at this point. Go on record.
This isn't the first date we've had.
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, the first promised date, you're saying.
I think I'm correct in saying that you've been working on this for 30 days expecting this to happen. Is that correct?
It was, I don't know if we've ever had a hard date, but it would be soon. I've
Yeah.
heard soon a few times.
And the only harm that we waste the postage to send out, and then by the time it gets it, it's taken care of. But it seemed, it's a shame that the process went smooth until that cap, and we've been talking about it for at least. So, is anyone opposed to sending a letter? Brent and I have a meeting with the attorney on a different subject on Thursday. And we could probably work that letter with him and get it in the mail that day. I could sign it, we could get it in the mail.
Does this have to go through the village board or is this directly through us?
That's a good question. I don't know that I know the answer to that question. I've been assuming that the plan committee could offer this. Well, it'll be offered by me, the chairman of the plan committee. But
Okay.
we will check to make sure that we have the authority to do it.
Okay.
But assuming we did it, it's this consensus that we'll send that letter out.
Yes.
You get it on
Yes.
Thursday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I don't think we need a motion, Brent. Consensus will do it. Good. Then let's go on to business. What is now the new number, I guess 7, but I'll probably use the old numbers. John and Victoria Coulter, 9887 Water Street, new single-family residence, conditional use, and they're here for the design review. And Brent, you want to bring us up to speed, and then I'll have BD tell us the results of the Historic Preservation Committee meeting.
Yeah, so this topic's been on the agenda a few times. I think they came to us with 2 concept reviews, and they were before us last month with a conditional use request. The plans have developed over time with feedback from HPC and plan, and some definition type guidance relative to the design. In the last meeting, there was specific concern and ordinance issues brought up relative to the roof pitch over the screen porch. There was some feedback given relative to the busyness of the dormers on the front elevation. So they've amended that design. We'll have that as one single shed dormer as opposed to 2 that were in the previous iteration. And then there was a change to the exterior wall sconce lighting. And that request, that number has been greatly reduced. I think the goal was to have them just near doorways. I think that was the guidance given.
Mhm.
So with that, I think those are the most substantial changes from what was or what was shown before. Our applicant is online, and our representative from Delirious is here as well. John spoke also to that shutters were added to the building from what was previously proposed. The intent is for it to be a blue, a light blue, a grayish blue color that would match the door. I think that encapsulates the major changes from last time. Beyond that, it's still the conditional use process. We've got a very detailed application relative to, grandfathering of setbacks, footprints, total square footage, living space, all those things that are still here. And those haven't fundamentally changed from what was heard last time. With that, Ken, as you stated, this did go before HPC, so BD can speak to the discussion and recommendation from that body.
BD, please.
Okay, well, we all had some comments. Kathy had some. Kathy's concern was the blue shutters, also the roof lines. Cody was okay with it. We all 3 of us appreciated all the work that's gone into it. I was concerned about the roof lines, but I did not state that in the meeting before last month. And at the time, when I was running HPC, I could not find my list. So I did not read that last month, and I voted for it. And I think it's probably proper that I abstain from voting this. I don't want to compromise the vote. But I have a page of notes that I meant to read last month and I didn't read them. So I feel like, I voted for it just to keep things moving and that was my mistake. And fortunately I have this in my hands now, but I think it's appropriate for me to not vote for, on the plan committee. I will abstain from voting. But the motion failed. It was 2-1 against, but again, my vote kind of tanked the motion. And John was very upset with that, as all you heard, and I can't blame him. And I said, I couldn't find my minutes, but I do have them or my notes. So with that said, I think that's proper thing for me to do.
Okay.
Abstain from voting.
I agree. The only correction I'd say is I know John's online. I guess I wouldn't say he was very upset. I think he was trying to get to the bottom of the conflict and so forth. So I thought you guys had a good back and forth a little bit about, he asked some good questions about why we changed and you gave the answer. So that's fine. If you'd like to, just a brief review of the changes you made, and then what I'd like to do is stand there with John online and go down the committee and ask for any final questions. But if you want to kind of highlight the changes you've made since last month.
Yeah, so I'm just going to basically reference last month's meeting minutes. We had kind of consensus drawn at the end of the meeting where we had these bullet points we wanted to hit. I'll just go through our bullet points and what we did to address them. So the first bullet point in the minutes was the roof pitch over the screen porch. We hit it at a 412, trying to minimize some of that math based upon our previous conversations with the board. It has now been raised. It also helped simplify our western elevation, which was a topic last month's meeting. It allowed roofs to just plane completely out rather than having multiple breaks in them, right, as Brent is indicating there. Second bullet point from the meeting minutes where exterior lighting should be reduced, only exterior doors and entries. We've accomplished that, so it's less than half of what we originally proposed. Third bullet point was the 2 shed dormers on the south elevation, which is the side that faces Water Street. Those were individual previously, and it was asked if we combine them. We have since combined them. And then also changed that from a gable roof to a shed roof to minimize the impact of it. Fourth bullet point was making sure all the plans were fully dimensioned, interior and exterior. That is on the current plan set with our application. Third one was material and color samples. We had them in the last meeting. They are here again today. And roof pitch calculations was the final bullet point from last month's meeting. Just showing that we are not exceeding the 50% of roof pitches that are below a 612. So that is now a calculation on our plans. And that covered basically those 6 bullet points from last meeting.
Great.
I have also brought some printouts here just because I know it's easier on 11x17. These are simply photos from around town of where are we drawing our inspiration? Why do we think we can call this traditional Ephraim? These photos are basically what will show you existing structures and homes that we reference, such as Iverson House, that we are taking cues from, design cues from. So one sheet is basically from around the village of Ephraim. We're listing, showing a photo that we took and then explaining what aspect we're using it from there. And then there's also a second sheet in there that is the existing home, showing front and back, showing that we are actually reusing bay windows, we have flower boxes, screen porch, almost in the exact same location. And then one final thing that was not in that bullet point in this, but it was addressed here, was unifying the window grills. We had multiple different variations last time. They are now the same.
Thank you. Thank you. And I guess personally, I will say I really appreciated your presentation when you're comparing the ordinance and the setbacks with your existing footprint and your proposed footprints of the different uses of the property, your calculations. That made our job a lot easier. So I appreciate that. Maybe what I'd like to do is just go down the line from right to left and see if there are questions and get answers to them. And Laird, I'll start with you.
I am trying to find in the minutes from last meeting, which unfortunately I couldn't attend, where I believe a decision was made about whether the garage could be consolidated with the rest of the footprint. And my understanding is that the answer was no, maybe you couldn't take advantage of that.
That's correct.
And so I assume that the current design complies with that.
It does.
And I know from the minutes that one of the consensus directions was that all plants must be fully dimensioned, interior and exterior. And again, are people satisfied that that is complied with?
You think so? I am.
Nothing for me.
Monique?
I think that you all listened to our concerns, and I appreciate the inspiration pictures. Sometimes it helps to see other reference points in the village. I also think sometimes drawings make things appear more detailed, but I'm wondering, with the inspiration for the shutters, are you thinking of having shutters that have the little cutouts like the traditional ones, or are you thinking of having shutters that are slatted?
They would be true, just like a shutter,
Okay.
a cedar shutter.
Okay.
Yes, with actual shutter values.
Okay.
Just like traditional.
Great. And I have no problem with the color, and I think the design is much more in keeping with what we are looking for.
Thank you, Monique. Andy?
BD, can I ask, what you said there were two concerns that we see. One was the blue shutters.
The tint of the blue
Yeah, it was the color,
is,
right? So it was not that they're shutters, but that they're,
oh, it's the color.
what color
Yeah,
are
not the shape or the
okay.
texture.
And, I mean, do you have a sample of the color to satisfy that? Apparently.
Yeah, I don't have one with me today
Okay.
for the blue. But yeah, that would be something we could easily work through together if there's
I would think
probably
so.
longer conversations.
Yeah. And the other was the roof lines, BD. What was the issue there?
Kathy felt like it still looked rather
Busy?
busy. I commented the same thing, the western elevation. I thought it still looked busy. I didn't see it. Drew, as you mentioned, he kind of improved it, but I didn't see that much improvement personally.
Okay.
So I thought the mass was still on that side. Overall, I thought the plan was much better than it had been, but I still had concerns about the mass, and, just the infill for that area.
Okay.
Design in a different photo.
Oh, yeah.
That's, sorry.
I don't see that as an issue, assuming you're gonna match an Ephraim blue.
Yes.
Well, I would repeat what's already been said. I think I wasn't at the last one. Came in at the end of the course.
It's noise.
But I would reiterate that it seems like everything you raised as an issue last meeting has been adjusted to comply. So I have no concerns at this point.
Thank you, Andy. Grace?
Well, first of all, I do appreciate you addressing the bullet points that you said you would. My only concerns, and the question I have is, that's that light blue that they have currently on there.
Yes.
Right, okay, I'm fine with that. But I see that you still have pictures of 3, possibly 4 lights on the front. There are 2 on that little garage, and then 2 by the door as I see it. And I thought we had just asked to have the lighting at the door, not other lights. And on the back of the house, it's fine. You have a door, and then you have a light by each of the doors. That's fine.
Yeah, are you referencing the
But you
2
have-
on the garage on the south elevation?
Yeah, you have 2 extra lights on the garage, which I am not in favor of.
Yeah, if that's,
Again, we have we're trying to do dark sky in Ephraim, and I know we're not being very successful, but it would be helpful.
Yeah, I'm going to speak for John here as well. If that's a conditional approval to remove those two, I think we would both gladly accept that.
Those are my concerns.
Thank you, Grace. Rick, I'll go down to you.
Okay, looking at this last time, I had three specific concerns. One was the dormer, which has been greatly improved and simplified. The lighting, they did remove several lights were simpler to me. I'm okay with the lights as it exists. My main concern with the roof pitch and specifically the west elevation was that roof pitch specifically for the pitch. Been improved and brought to it with a 612 pitch. It was up from a 412.
It came up, yeah, it's at a 7.
Is it a 7?
Because we were trying to make it simplified, and that existing roof over the staircase was a 7, so we basically just took that 7 and brought it all the way down.
Okay. Those were my main concerns, and those have been addressed.
BD, I was thinking about skipping you. If you're not going to vote, then
Yeah, well, then you can skip.
you can skip your comments.
Sure.
I'll finish up then with comments. I would appreciate, this is just another comment about the lights. As Grace said, we've worked pretty hard with the dark skies, with our new street lighting and so forth. Not that these aren't downward lighting, but we're trying to open up the sky and not necessarily draw attention to homes beyond a safety issue. So I would rather not see the 2 lights on either side of the bay window of the garage.
Okay.
I like what you did to the bays also from, I think it was more of a shed type of roof before.
They were box.
And bringing in the design from the other house, I thought was positive. The only other comment I'll make, picky on here, I think we're gonna have to get a color sample. We can condition this and decide what the color is in that front door, because it's a rather pale blue. And then the other thing I would just ask my fellow committee members to think about, when the Prices were here with their house, they were going to have the shutters a reddish color in order to bring out the cherry of door count. And we talked a long time to them, and when we finally came to agreement is their front door is a reddish color, but they use more of an off-white, a little bit of a contrast. I don't know what color you call it, but it's not white on the shutters. So I personally would, I don't know how the rest of the committee feels about this, would rather not see all that amount of offset blue in there, because blue isn't one of the definitional colors. You know, we have the colors of the stone and the cedars and the aging cedar and so forth. So that would be my comment. We're gonna have to condition this anyway with the motion. And my master motion maker has pulled himself out here, but he's passed his motion on. Does someone want to try with, or maybe we could go through the conditions? Are we gonna have, is one condition that we will have to approve the color blue on the door? Would that be a commission? A condition?
I just have a question.
Yes.
Because the Iverson house has a blue door. And I don't want to muck up this whole discussion and have us go down the wrong path, but maybe just like, at least have that in the back of our heads for a deeper discussion on another day.
Right.
So seeing a sample of the color, I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I'm not against having a blue door.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I think the shutters, it gets a lot of blue in the house.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
The other comment I asked Drew was, there were no shutters on last month's December. And I asked you why you put them
Yeah,
on
there
this
is.
one.
We originally had shutters, but at the February meeting, we had some single shutters.
I remember that.
The committee had spoken that they did not like single shutters, so with our last presentation, we would still have that issue. With this version, we don't have an issue where we can only have a single, and you can actually have a more traditional pair. So we just brought them back from one of our previous applications because they work.
And then as I look, so there'll be shutters obviously on the south elevation. And then I see sets on the west and the east also, but just on the first floor.
That, yeah, correct. We were trying to get the, there's the beach, but we have that primary, 3 elevations that are visible there. And then you can also look on the rear or north elevation.
Mhm.
There's just nothing there that speaks to having shutters either.
Do you have to have shutters at all? I mean, I'm looking at like the Anderson House and and the Miller's house. I think it's the Miller's house, no, it's not, but because I'm just wondering, since this is causing us to really question and we're putting more restrictions on it. I don't know, the backside of the house looks awesome and there aren't any shutters there,
It's
just a comment.
not the architect nor my genre Victoria culture, but I would feel we'd be okay removing them. It's simply one of those things that we found on many homes throughout Ephraim, and that would be something that we would.
Do we have a consensus that we'd rather not have the shutters, or are we okay with the shutters? Well, as a design feature, forget the color for a minute. Because you do see a lot of shutters in town.
I'm okay with the shutters.
I would think, if the owner and the designer likes the shutters, and it meets with our historic ordinance. Are we generally okay then with the shutters?
Yeah, I'm neutral. Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of up to them. I agree. The single shutters were not ideal. It's either 0 or pair.
But now they're able to pair them all up.
If they're paired, then that's
Design.
fine. So I'm not concerned.
Monique, you good with that?
Yeah, I mean, they could be painted white too.
Well,
That's another condition that Ken's already.
well, that's what I'm suggesting is that we just
Not
allow the door to be blue, and if they want to come back, when they come back with the door color to another, I'm not saying you should do what the Prices did, I'm just suggesting that they used, I'll call it an off-white, more of a beige. It's got a little bit of an offset, but it's not the color of the door. Are those things agreeable to you?
Agreeable.
The lights and the color of the shutters?
Yeah.
But then if we're ready to go to a motion, we should still condition? Okay.
We had talked previously, whether it was last month or the month before, that the focus here, was the building itself, and could they do this conditional use project? But I think we agreed that with any future landscape treatments, the, colors of the patios, the permeables, all that really wouldn't be subject to conditional use review, but that would be something I would say is a condition that they would come back, just for a general design review of those final landscape treatments. Not to necessarily hold up a motion here if that's the direction you go.
Yeah.
But a future discussion point, what's the color, material samples, all of those good things for those landscape elements that they just haven't really done that detail or expense yet, not knowing if they have to go to the project.
The landscaping I can speak to is it will be Meisner landscape.
I mean, that's fine. But we ran into a bit of a problem last time as I'll just say the landscaping plans changed. They weren't built the way they were drawn. So I think we're especially interested in the hardscape, even if it's permeable.
Yeah.
We'd like to see all the hardscape on that. So that would be, as a condition, a further submittal would be the landscape, both soft and hardscape. With samples again. And now, does anyone want to see the samples? Because they were good enough to bring them in. Is it too heavy to pass around or?
If they're gonna pass around, I'll hold them up.
Okay.
I'll hold them up. You want to describe them?
So natural cedar shake roof, they are sawn cedar shingles, left to patina natural.
So that is solid cedar or
Solid.
shingles?
Yes, truly natural product. So that is a piece of cedar siding, which is what we're proposing, just showing a neutral white. Copper, we have no copper roofing, but we will use copper flashings at the roof. And any exterior sills will have copper, starts off shining penny.
Now it gets heavy. Can you hold that up higher, please?
Just once.
And we didn't ask the most important question. Tell us what that thing is on top of your chimney and what's that made out of? Is that going to be copper up there or is that a piece of,
Just a copper shroud.
A shroud, okay.
Left a patina to the bronze color, just like the flashing.
and the top of that is no higher than 25 feet? Measured from the center line of 42. Okay. The crown.
Ridge line is less than 20.
Very good. Okay, would someone like to take a stab at a motion with the conditions we spoke of?
I can try it.
Okay, go ahead, Rick, please.
Do we want to read back the conditions first? Sure. So we have a clear understanding of what we're conditioning.
Removable garage lights, shutter, door color, future landscape elements, hardscape, general design review, further submittal. 3 things.
Maybe did everybody follow those? Did you get them? Okay.
I move that the committee approve the zoning permit for the property at 9887 Water Street, subject to the conditions stated herein.
Okay, and go ahead with those conditions one more time.
Sure.
please.
Removal of garage lights, shutter, door color, and future landscape elements, hardscape, general design review, further submittal.
You said both shutter and door colors.
Can we also clarify just the garage lights on the south elevation, not the one at the rear next to the door, which is on the north elevation?
That's my understanding because that's a door.
Yeah.
So we agreed to put them next to the doors.
Second.
A second. Okay, any further discussion? Does everyone understand the conditions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed?
Nay.
I would have had further discussion, but I think we moved quickly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. It's majority rules and we have a long day, so.
Okay.
I abstain.
I'm staying, okay. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to the new number 8, Gregory Golderman, 9917 Water Street, in addition, additional use and design review. Brent?
Yeah, Greg was before us, last month as a concept review. I think was he here the month before as well, I think.
I think it was-
So I was on the agenda, not physically present.
Okay.
So I guess the history here, and I know Greg is online, hopefully he can listen and participate if necessary. Started off life with a tear down and a new building going up in the exact same footprint as the existing structure. There was some concern relative to the overall design. And basically in that first meeting, what Greg alluded to was it really wasn't his initial vision. What he wanted to do was save as much of the original building as possible and potentially add some additional space on the second floor, but was having a difficulty finding a contractor that was able to do that because it was probably more labor intensive than starting over. What he came back to us last time was after finding a contractor that was able and willing to execute the vision was to salvage most of the first floor, basically add a steel superstructure within the building to support the second floor above or the additional space of the second floor above, and amended the design, I think, in an attempt to maybe simplify the roof a little bit and ultimately to salvage as much of that first floor as possible. Was a little bit of back and forth relative to design, but ultimately they took whatever comments were made back to their designer and came back with a conditional use request for this meeting. Again, a great deal of information there relative to the grandfather setbacks, what this does from a footprint standpoint, which there is no increased footprint. Dimensional discussion relative to how much square footage is added on the second floor, and then the design elements being discussed. This also went before HPC this evening, and BD can. We do have material samples for that. I think largely it's to tie into what's existing, but again, it's a LP Smart Side in a gray. And then the roof is kind of a standard Certainty Landmark driftwood. It's fairly common that we've seen in the past. Predominantly black with some gray, and I would say a little bit of a light bluish gray in black.
Thank you, Brent. BD, you want to give us a summary of the reactions from HPC?
Yeah, HPC, the three of us had no issues. We thought, overall, three of us thought they did a great job working with the committees to get where they were. And we're very happy with the end result. It maintains the look of the original cabin as much as possible. And it passed unanimous.
Maybe I'll start from the other side this time and see what the questions are. I'll start with you, Rick. Any questions?
Is this looking at I'm calling it the entry elevation? Is that what we had before us last time, Brent?
Don't believe that changed. One that did change from the initial, this was kind of a late submittal to the concept meeting last time. There was an elevation drawing at one point showing, I think, a stone facade on part of this front piece. But again, in Greg's desire to keep as much of that as possible with the addition of the ability to salvage as much of that first floor as possible, the desire was just to keep that looking like it does presently.
Logs.
Correct.
I generally, I would, I guess, go along with what the HPC said, and they did a nice job in keeping it as consistent as they could be with what exists. So I think in total, I don't have an issue with this.
Okay. BD?
Yeah, I don't have any issue. I think, like I said, they've gone a long way and made changes, and I was very happy they didn't raise the whole building, scrape it up and start from scratch. So I think they did a great job. Their architect found a way to get a second floor look and more space without starting from scratch, like I said.
Grace?
Yes, I agree. I think they did a good job with the 1.5 story, keeping it moderately sized and blending in.
Andy?
I've got three questions, nothing terribly significant. The existing water side view has that shed roof. Is that going to be retained as is? Or pretty much, I mean, it's going to be rebuilt, I assume. I'm just saying that's an awful flat looking roof. And I don't know if this was discussed before or not.
Let's look at the roof lines.
Yes.
I'm going to assume that that's at least a 312,
It doesn't look like it to me.
that back roof.
That roof would totally be redone.
Yeah, I assume it's got to be redone, but will
I
that
think they
roof,
heard you.
Oh,
They didn't hear you.
The roof's at 312.
Okay.
and is that 312?
They didn't hear you.
Well, that's what they're saying.
Right.
Okay.
It's
all
called
right.
out on the plans as 312.
Okay, all right, I'm
But it
sorry.
definitely is being rebuilt because
Okay.
I think look at the existing elevations in previous conversations with Greg and the contractor, I think they're about like 21 feet now. I think the peak of the chimney is at about 23. So the whole roof system is coming up, 2.5 feet. So I would say that shed dormer, I don't know if it's a 212 or a 312 now. It's basically the same shape. It's being lifted up a little bit and it will be a 312.
Okay, I just want to confirm that it will be a 312 at least. Secondly, you have a place for parking. Is that to show the parking plan during construction? Or is that all new off-street parking?
No, I think that's with recent conversations relative to, especially down projects like Price's down by the beach, depending on the construction window. Now, often this takes care of itself because, people with anywhere, but especially the waterfront homes, they want to take advantage of the season and we don't see a whole lot of construction during peak season, but it's still something for, especially the more substantial projects is just starting to put that bug in their ear is what is your construction parking plan?
So it's construction work, that's what
Correct, it is
and
construction.
that's fine. Okay. Finally, does anyone else agree with me? This is just an aesthetic feature that adding a little windows in the bathroom on the end of that extension that comes out toward the street.
What view would you say?
I'm trying to find let's go to the sketches of there, right there. Would break up that, it looks like you're looking at 4 gables in a mirror or something, reflecting itself. And this is just a suggestion, that's certainly not a deal breaker, but I just wondered about a little square window in there would give some interest to that multiple side view of those gables. It just seems a little repetitive as you move back from front. I mean, there's 4 different.
Andy, if you count those gables as they recede, 1, 2, 3, 4, which gable are you talking
Number
about?
two.
Number 2,
Which
okay.
is, I think on the floor plan, that's the bathroom at the end of that extension on the second floor. Am I right? Now, whether they want a window in there, again, this is just a suggestion, and it's purely my sense of the aesthetic of looking at those multiple gables. Is a bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious whether anybody else thinks that's I'm not saying that that's the best idea in the world.
It's where you're coming from.
It's just a suggestion to break up that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's always been, or it's the way it's been for some time, and it does seem a little odd, except that it is a bathroom, and you can understand why they don't want a window facing onto the highway or the main street. And I personally, they obviously have a window in there already, and that to me is micromanaging. I think it's always looked that way, and I would.
Okay, I'm just asking for other opinions.
Mm-hmm.
You could just as well say, because you put a hex sign up or some kind of architectural feature.
Okay, nobody else seems bothered by, I mean, it's, when you say it's been that way, yeah, but now we have a second story of those roof lines.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a lot of mass kind of coming, like a telescope coming at you out of the house
Mm-hmm.
toward the road.
I don't think there is no window in that bathroom, not that that's really critical.
No,
There doesn't
no,
need to be a
it doesn't
window.
show it on
Yeah.
the floor plan, or
Right.
not that it would necessarily, but,
Right.
and I know you don't want a nice big window in your bathroom,
Right.
but high enough or.
I think there's one on this side. Isn't there one on the
Is
right
there
side?
one on
I think there's one on-
Oh, I mean, yeah, I can see that on the side elevation, just.
Looking at what's there.
Well, okay. Nobody's agreeing with me very strongly, so I'll I'll just leave it to stand.
Okay.
That's the,
Next design idea, Andy?
I'm done. I don't have a lot of one a month.
I'm just kidding you.
Ken, isn't this, probably,
Oh, I see.
that's facing the neighbor, that's,
Oh, I thought it was this one. Okay, anyway, it's a detail. But Andy, do you have any other comments?
No.
Okay, Monique?
I agree with what else has been said except for what Andy said.
You're not gonna weigh in on the window. Okay, Laird?
I really appreciate the effort to maintain as much of the existing appearance as possible, and I have no issues.
Okay, thank you. The only comment I had, and it's already been brought up, they did give us a construction plan, which I appreciated. And I measured out, there's probably room for 2 vehicles, but the intent here is to build this house off-season, which creates a lot smaller of a problem. And I neglected to mention on the previous project that if it built over our peak season, then we're gonna have to take a look at beach parking and, where the construction vehicles are gonna go. But it appears that this one, the goal is to build off-season, it'll be done by, I think he said, May of 27. Okay. Those are the only comments I had, so I would take a motion. Somebody like to make it for approval?
I move to approve the conditional use design review application for Gregory Golterman at 9917 Water Street as presented.
Thank you. Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion approved. Number 9, Roy Harsh, 9931 Water Street, addition, conditional use, design review. Brent, I'll ask again for everyone here that wasn't here before, maybe if you give a brief introduction.
I'll try to be brief. I know
Okay.
some of you, most of you probably heard this during the HPC, but I'll go into, unfortunately, a little more detail per plan. But obviously, there's a long history here. Roy is with us. He just stepped away for a moment, but certainly he's available to present and ask any questions you have of him. But as most of us know, relative to that history, Roy began a project with a small addition on the south of the building, on the water side of the building, without a permit. When I became aware of it, I went and issued stop work orders. From that point on, a long history of various meetings that have led to this point. The issue at the time was, on top of not getting required permits, an over-the-counter permit couldn't be issued because, one, the property or the existing building is very close to the side yard setback, and the addition would have pushed it even closer to that side yard setback, making it more non-conforming. Additionally, as we all know, our protected waterfront has a clear clause in it, in which there is no vehicle in which someone can add footprint to a building in the protected waterfront district. Our definition of footprint being if you take a single horizontal plane of the first floor of a building, everything that's bound by a wall is considered footprint in a building. So Roy pursued first a variance before our Board of Appeals, basically to get relief from that side yard setback and to get relief from the protected waterfront footprint modification rule. That variance was denied. From that point, it took some time to get that before the committee to be heard. In the time that passed, the plan committee overhauled the protected waterfront ordinance, creating a mechanism in which the existing footprints of non-compliant structures could be grandfathered. So if a building is 5 feet from a property line, you could potentially, with conditional use review, add on to that building using, so long as you didn't further encroach on that grandfather setback. With that said, it also, as I previously stated, is a requirement in protected waterfront that you cannot add footprint to a structure. So there were some concept review meetings before the plan committee in which Mr. Harsh proposed the idea of understanding he would need a variance, which I would get into, or I will get into. The idea would be so that there was no net increase to footprint if he could go through these processes, keep the addition of the building that was started without permits. Then he could offset that by removal of a portion of the building that's closest to the highway. There was a fair bit of conversation at those meetings about, in the future, we'll need detailed plans so we know exactly how many feet we're losing, exactly where this area is coming off. And that's kind of where it was left. And the last we've heard of it as a plan committee. In the time since those concept review meetings, this went before the Board of Appeals. The reason for
Brent's got the floor.
Sorry.
this is kind of the important bit.
Yeah.
At the Board of Appeals meeting, which was required in a proposal from Mr. Harsh, collaborating with his neighbor to, I'll call it the south, Mr. Munns, in which they proposed a variance to basically do a property swap. A small triangle of property would be deeded from Mr. Munns to Mr. Harsh near the addition in question, and then offsetting amount of square footage near the waterfront would be deeded from Mr. Harsh to Mr. Munns to offset. So no net change in the size of either property relative to acreage. That, for plan committee's sake, would create a situation in which the proposed addition is the same side yard setback distance from the existing as it would be if we were to grant a conditional use to allow him to keep the addition that presently is in a half finished state. What that also required, from a variance standpoint, was that did make the Munns property ever so slightly more non-conforming, because like many of these, they're small lots. His house didn't meet the 15-foot setback, but ultimately, long story of medium length, it was approved by the Board of Appeals to allow the swap or the exchange of property, as you see in the site plan submitted, on the condition that, one, the committee look at the drainage plan, which is part of the argument that Roy and Mr. Munns proposed to the plan committee. One of the things that this was helping solve was a drainage issue that's commonly shared between the lots. And two, the condition that variance approval is conditional upon Roy getting approval of a conditional use to allow him to keep that addition with the footprint exchange. So there very well could be questions relative to all that, but that's where we're at. So from a dimensional standpoint, with the fact that a conditional variance was given, now where we sit is, from a setback standpoint, there is a mechanism with setbacks to allow him to do this. Now it's here for the footprint exchange by way of taking it away from the part of the structure in the roadside and adding it on, albeit after the fact, for the addition on the water side.
And I'd like you to continue here with scrolling to the appropriate place of explaining what Roy is proposing to give up. He's looking to add on an 8 by 7 foot addition, 56 square feet.
Yep, so 8 by 7 addition on the water side of the property.
And that's where the extension of his kitchen is.
Correct.
And then what he wants to give up is
On the, so I'll start with the existing photo.
There it is.
So this is the portion of the building closest to the highway now, and I'll go back to speak to the size that would remain. But ultimately, Roy would remove, I could have looked at that before I scrolled, but let's call it, to about here or something like that.
56 square feet.
Yeah, 56 square feet worth of this part of the building.
So that would be the swap.
That would be the swap as proposed.
And that's primarily what we are here to talk about.
Yeah, it's certainly, design review like anything in the historic district, protected waterfront, which is an overlay of the historic district as well. But yes, primarily it is design review and conditional use review to allow the exchange and the swap of footprint for the footprint.
And then do we have to also, if we were going to, do we have to condition this, it's conditioned on the land swap actually happening? Because that hasn't happened yet, right?
Correct, and Roy and I have talked, being that conditional, yes. So I think we could have dueling conditions. Theirs is contingent on this, and I think ours is contingent on the follow through of that recorded quitclaim deed.
Because Harshman Munns haven't bothered to make any legal changes to their property yet. They're waiting to hear from us. So we can condition it on that,
Correct.
that happening. Come on up, Roy.
We have entered into formal deeds, and we were asked not to file those deeds, and we have not filed them. They're ready to be filed. And so.
And my point would be that before any construction would take place, if we would approve it, those deeds to be finalized.
Yes, they're ready, they can be filed. I'm just telling the lawyer that drafted them, to file them, and they're to be filed.
Okay, ready to go. Good. Why don't I start with, start in the middle this time. I'm gonna start with Grace this time. You gotta be on the spot once in a while. Grace, questions or comments?
Yes, I have several. How do you access that little shed now? From the house?
No, there is a door off the, on the opposite side of that door.
I can show you a picture, or maybe he has a, we can pass this around. That is on the side that we can't see. There's an exterior door over by that truck that you can see over on the side.
Okay, and then you are proposing to take 56 square feet from the 80 square feet that you have in that shed, right? Yeah.
Whatever the, yes,
So then you're going to remodel that little shed to look
it'll have, it'll continue the same roof line,
appropriate.
and then it'll be a straight wall dropping down.
Okay, so kind of where the peak of the roof is a little bit,
Yes.
to the right.
Yeah.
You're gonna just have that as, would you
And it'll
consider
be-
taking
it'll
the
be a
whole?
cedar, same white cedar sided,
Yeah. Okay.
and you really can't, there isn't much of a view
Mm-hmm.
of that because of the cedar trees and that house sits so low
Okay.
off the road.
You know, I apologize, Grace, excuse me for
That's okay.
interrupting.
Yeah.
I neglected to ask Dee Dee for the comments of HPC, and that bears on the materials and design and the colors and so forth.
Yeah, we, HPC on this one just was more concerned with the shape, the colors, samples of that. We didn't get into weeds with what we're dealing with, swapping square footage and all that.
Right.
So we approved it based on the siding would be the same as it is there as we see, and the shingles would be the same color green. And that's about as far as we went.
And the white paint.
And the white paint. We didn't dive any deeper, that was out of our purview.
Apologize for the interruption.
It's okay. And then my other question is, are we making both, by giving this condition, are we making both properties more non-compliant? And that,
From what I understand, what Brent said, Royce will be similarly non-compliant as is right now. With this land swap, the number of feet from his edge of building to the property line will be the same as it is now. Mr. Munts will actually be more non-compliant, if you will, But that's what they went to the Board of Appeals for, and the
Yeah.
Board of Appeals approved the land swap. So we're done with the land swap.
Yep, and the roadside would be non-conforming to the road setback too. So that section that's being removed is also non-conforming to setbacks as well.
All right, that's all I have.
Okay. Andy, questions?
I'm torn between a lot of technical stuff that doesn't sit quite right and commending you for a very creative solution to this problem. It's kind of crazy, but you're kind of making it work. First question, Brent. Does the land swap, does the grandfathering of the setback, which is grandfathered to the original lot line, automatically transfer to a new lot line that has been conditionally approved? That's a technicality that I'm kind of stuck on, but we're going back 3 steps here. And, I mean, that's kind of a deal breaker right off the bat. In other words, if that's a strict understanding of grandfathering the setbacks, then the land swap doesn't allow them to do it.
I mean, from my perspective, say the fact that approval is conditional upon disapproval. What they agreed to, long story short, is, a new lot. At the end of the day, they approved a new lot. So to me, a setback in question, whether it's a grandfathered setback or a run-of-the-mill black and white 15-foot setback, that applies to the property line, period. If someone buys an extra 2 acres of land from their neighbor, that setback is measured from the lot line, wherever that lot line is.
Yeah, but I'm going to the grandfather exception to it.
Yep. Which we grandfather a distance from the lot line.
Even normally, when you start changing things, the grandfathering goes away. So when the lot line is changed, I'm asking, does the grandfathering of that
will now be recorded.
But it is a technicality that troubles me.
That's a good point.
And, I mean, it's a powerful argument that the Board of Appeals has approved the land swap, and sort of with it implicit is the new grandfather setback. So I can accept that. I'm just sort of trying to go on record as saying this is still not completely clear in my mind and acceptable. But having made that speech, my only other concern is whether the shed in question, from which we're granting 56 square feet, is in fact part of the original structure or is a separate structure. And that goes to whether there is the wall that separates the house from the shed an exterior wall, even though it's inside the shed. And I don't know exactly how to determine that. Is it insulated? Would it stand as an exterior wall if the shed wasn't there?
There's no insulation in that house, Steve.
Okay, well,
But that's still the original wall that was on the house is still there, and the shed was built.
Yes.
I think that's what you're trying to
And
get
the
at.
shed was built in the best we can figure, it was built in 1944.
Well, I'm going back, I tried to find when we had talked about this before. And the most important was the concept review on December 17th. No, this is the plan packet. So this is from the October meeting in 2024. And I'm quoting from those minutes. Thorpe inquired about the offset so the square footage is not increased. Bartel read from the PW ordinance, quote, "The footprints in the PW district can be modified, but increases to the total footprint of individual structures within the district are prohibited." We're now very familiar with that line. The minutes continue. Harsh said that he can offset a portion of the storage shed, which is part of the primary structure, but has an outdoor entrance. Bristol noted that the offset cannot be any space outside of the exterior walls. That's the question as I see it. Is that space outside of the exterior walls? I guess you're kind of have this add-on shed that's technically not part of the interior, assuming that the wall between the house and the shed is an exterior wall. But if you look at the building, you would say that that shed is encompassed by an exterior wall.
If it helps, it has the same. It's starting,
No, you mean half the roof, the front part is the same?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
shares the same roof. It's been that way since 1944.
My position here is to raise the question. I can live with this. I just want us to be sure we have clarified that that's the basis on which we're allowing this to happen. And I think you could make that argument in your favor. But that's the argument that has to be kind of assumed to be made. And I don't know how anyone else feels about that, but to me, that's the decisive question, because that's what, and in some ways, we gave you the option to do the square footage swap. And now you're coming back and showing that you can do that. But we did have this discussion at that time, and it was sort of left unclear whether or not that was a legitimate structure, single structure, because we just had the case, obviously we all are familiar, where we debated whether it was all part of one structure or two structures. Right. And if it's two, you can't include it. So that's my concern. I'm just, I guess, stating that for the record and for discussion.
Any other comments? No. Monique?
I don't quite know how to follow Andy after that, except to say,
You disagree with me?
no, I know I did, but I don't disagree with you. I see the point that you're making, and it sort of makes things more challenging for us. So, but I also see it as a viable solution to the issue and feel like that I could live with this condition. Yeah.
Larry?
I have just a few questions. The first is really silly. In the conditional use permit application, the location is identified as being on one unspecified side of a river. I know, that's the first page of the conditional use permit application. And I assume that's a typo.
I don't follow the question, I'm sorry.
Let's go back to the application.
That's it at the very top. And that threw me a little bit. I assume that.
Was that intended to be
There's no
water?
river there.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
Oh,
Sorry,
the second line where it gives your street address, and then underneath it has the word river.
I don't know how that popped up on that.
Okay.
I can't tell you.
Okay.
Okay, well, as I say, it was small, but if I didn't ask it, I'd never be able to sleep on it.
You'd wake up.
The second question is, and Brent may have already explained this, but I just want to be sure about it. If you look at a couple of pages more There's a schematic, shows the proposed addition. That's it. Am I correct that that proposed addition in fact already exists?
Yes,
And so there's no plan to increase the current footprint from what's already there?
it's occupying the 7 by 8 foot corner.
Right.
And it allows us to reconfigure,
Right, okay. I just want to be certain I understood that.
and that is exactly,
That could affect view from the street if there were further enlargement. And then finally, there's actually, I mean, it's the view of the shed that's going to be most visible to people passing the street. And if I understand it correctly, the plan is simply to lop off a significant part of that shed and leave a little tiny part at the very corner of the building. That was a good picture. That was okay.
you are correct.
And there's a schematic that shows the reduced shed.
Right there.
Which looks as though you're lopping off not just the first side of the roof, but the half of the second side, leaving a very truncated looking building. Have you thought about removing the entire shed? I mean, that's gonna be a pretty small and odd looking addition, right?
There's no garage on this property.
So you need a storage area, even a small.
The primary use is the storage of storm windows during the summer months and the screens during the winter, and the garbage can. And that's about all that's going to be able to be fitted, and a few garden tools.
Okay, all right. So it's still going to be a utility, even though it's going to be a lot smaller than
Yes.
it currently is.
And in all probability, if we ever replace the windows in that house, there would be a third window added above your cursor in that. It's a dark bedroom, and it could use a third window.
Well, I intuitively share Andy's concern that we're allowing an unconditioned area to be swapped for a conditioned area. But I also think there's probably nobody in the village that hasn't heard about your small kitchen and sympathizes. So I can live with what in other circumstances I might be concerned about.
Anything else, Lloyd?
No.
Okay. Rick?
I kind of admire the creativity here, but I guess I want to go down the road that Andy went down and maybe ask the question a little differently. And that is, would we normally consider this shed to be part of the footprint of this structure? I'm throwing that out for anybody to answer that, because that's, I guess, what I'm struggling with. My inclination would be to say yes, with our present understanding, as that is defined in the zoning code, that it would in fact be part of the footprint. And as such, if it is, then I guess I would say that the footprint can be modified. It's not being increased, so therefore I would be inclined to go along with this. So long as, I guess I'm satisfied that that would be included in a normal, or our common understanding of what the footprint is.
BD.
Mr. Harsh, I think on one of your pictures, you showed the window that is now in that added addition that you put on there was going to be.
No, that window is a temporary window
Right.
to button it up. the windows will come off the side of the 8-foot wall that will be torn down. It has not been torn down.
He's gonna reuse the existing kitchen windows.
Yes,
Okay.
and they'll be moved forward, put into that window opening. And it's simply a window that I bought at one of the recycled places, put up to
Okay.
keep the weather out. And that was two
And I guess-
years ago.
Yeah.
Can I? Rick, the property tax records of the village of Ephraim show the square footage of the shed and the house and the screened-in porch, all those ones, you know.
To show that as one aggregate number?
I mean, that 80, 100, or 1,078, 260, and that, you add it up, and that's, but it's assessed that. So it's been paying taxes on it as though it's part of the structure.
Yeah, then my only other concern was, and that's been addressed, was swapping non-conditioned space for conditioned space. That's where I still have a hang, I think.
Because it's not heated, obviously, it's a non-heated outside access.
Screened-in porches and you
Right.
Okay, I'll take the final comment then. I look back at our ordinance, sure is short, it's 2 pages long, and it says, footprints in the protected waterfront district can be modified, but increase to the total footprint of individual structures within the district are prohibited. But the only word there is footprints. That's the only word that we have to work with. And then when you look at our definitions in chapter 17, there's a definition of a footprint. It says the dimensions of a single horizontal plane bounded by exterior walls of the building as expressed in square feet. So I guess what we have to decide is, the way I'm looking at it, is this the exterior wall of this building? As opposed to, we don't really have definitions of conditioned space and non-conditioned space. We just have this footprint, and then the footprint is defined by exterior walls. So maybe, I mean, we could go around. I think we've all had a chance to state our concerns. I think the thing to do is, let's have a motion with conditions and get that on the table and have any additional discussion, and then I'll call for a vote and we'll go around the horn.
So what conditions do you want?
The conditions, let's think out loud as a group, the conditions, the one condition is that the property, the new plats and legals would have to be produced as approved by the Board of Appeals. Is there another well, I guess the condition is if we're gonna allow Roy to take 56 feet off that front pump out shed, whatever we want to call it, along 42 and replace it with 56 feet for the extended kitchen. That's what we're really here to approve tonight. So I'm not sure that would be a condition. That's just an up and down approval.
I don't think it's a condition, but I would like to have that language in sort of, what's the language we want? Allowing the interpretation that the current shed attached to the house is included in the square footage of the house, something that sort of explains our reasoning here. And maybe add something under the current interpretation or under the current ordinance as we, I'm trying to safeguard against any precedential.
Why don't we use the word footprint? Because that's the only thing that's in the ordinance, and we have a definition of footprint. in the ordinance.
Well, Ken, I think the other word that needs definition in the ordinance is structure. That's where we were talking about, individual structure and whether there is one individual structure here or two individual structures. That was the question with the garage question.
Right.
And I would say, not subject to, I'm trying to find the language, but based on Mr. Harsh's interpretation that the woodshed the shed is included as part of the one structure. And therefore its footprint is included in that structure and therefore is swappable.
But that really has to be our interpretation, right? Because we're gonna approve this. I mean,
Well,
Mr.
right.
Harsh can give us any interpretation he'd
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but it's really gonna be our interpretation right now that.
We've got to own that. I agree.
Well, maybe that tax record kind of backs that up.
Well, in this case, it does, but
Taxes
it
on the
doesn't always
footage,
work.
Detached garage?
What was that?
Well,
Do you pay taxes on a detached garage?
yes.
Sure, it's a structure.
It's assessed that way, an accessory structure.
Yeah, so to me, the tax question is irrelevant.
Yeah, I think the tax question is irrelevant.
I think he was just offering it up as evidence.
Evidence, I get that, right, and it's worth noting.
So the question is the shed part of the footprint?
Correct. Correct, and the footprint is defined, the dimensions of a single horizontal plane bounded by the exterior wall. That's a critical, bounded by the exterior
I
wall.
think we can make that case.
That is part of the footprint.
Right. That wasn't part of
One
the
further condition that might be considered is when the work is going to be completed. I think that, I don't know how much time is reasonable, but by the end of the summer, to have shed truncation.
I think that's an excellent point. It's been a long time coming. I don't know how many years, Roy? 3, 4?
We're ready to start right away.
When will you be finished?
Essentially, we'll be finished by the end of the summer. I want to get the kitchen buttoned up. And then we would take the shed down.
October 1?
Sure.
And if we make that a condition, then the normal 1-year building permit would not apply. This condition could override it. Because we'd be giving Roy a building permit, which normally gives you a year, but given the fact that we've all waited a long time for this to happen, if you're comfortable with October 1.
I'd be a lot more comfortable with October 31, but
Well, I think we just want to have a date,
that's fine.
and we don't want to go out a year.
October 31.
Okay, October 31, that could be a condition. That's a good condition.
I have a condition too that I thought of. I would like to see the shed, the 56 square feet of the attached shed removed before the work is started on the kitchen. I know you've already started on the kitchen, but I want that shed removed before other work is done, to make sure that it is removed.
I personally think that's a reasonable request, just because we've been looking at this a long time. It was started inappropriately.
Absolutely.
So I would like to see, I would agree with you, that can be a condition. Certainly before any building permits are issued, or I should say building permits, but occupancy permits. That shed has to be down. Is that an enforceable condition?
I think so.
For us, okay. My condition expert over here to my left is taking notes.
You think I'm gonna be able to read them?
I hope so, it's your writing.
I'm coming to Kim.
Okay.
Are you wanting me to- Okay.
What
So,
do we have so far in conditions?
so need to be recorded as approved by Board of Appeals. Work to be completed by October 31. Attached shed facing Water Street to be removed before kitchen work is started. And then we have information about removing 56 square feet from the front elevation for 56 square feet of the rear elevation based on interpretation that current shed is included in the footprint, therefore is swappable. I don't know if that you want that in the body of the
That
motion.
probably needs to be in the body of the motion, the 56-foot swap.
Okay.
You
So,
want to give it a shot?
yeah, and then I'll just use, I'm gonna use what Ken said. Okay, I move to approve the addition conditional use design review application for Roy Harsh at 9931 Water Street as presented with the following conditions.
Okay.
And then Kim, you can.
Read them in.
Please read it one more time.
To be recorded as approved by Board of Appeals, work is to be completed by the end of October 31, 2026. Attached shed facing Water Street to be removed before kitchen gets started.
Could I suggest not that that shed is not going to be removed, it's going to be modified or reduced. It is reduced, that's a better word.
Modified as presented.
Yes.
See here.
Pick a word.
Any other conditions that we might be missing? Did we fit them? Did we?
I was just curious, where will the parking be for construction equipment?
Where do I park my truck?
Said, I think you're looking at the contractor.
Okay, you are the contractor.
It says in the application that we're, myself and a friend,
Okay,
we're doing work and there's plenty of parking.
Then I'll take a second to that motion. Second, thank you, Grace. Any additional comments or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I've said it a long time ago, and I've said it on several occasions. I apologize for having started this project without a permit.
Roy, I don't know if I have the authority, but I accept your apology. Let's just get it done now and make it look good again.
Brent, thank you for your help.
Thank you, Roy.
congratulations.
All right, that will take us to, I guess, the new number 10, Colin Welford, 10355 Bella Vista Lane, conditional use for outdoor service rent.
Okay, combination of items here. One, maybe there a few, well, I don't know if there's new bodies on the plan committee that haven't heard the evolution of Colin's property up there. Obviously, this is in relation to the secret garden portion, which is kind of the back of the buildings.
Not a secret.
Not a secret. Part two is similar to the application we recently heard for SIP. So as we know, anytime there is outdoor, food and or beverage service preparation within the village of Ephraim, that requires a conditional use permit. So I will let Colin speak to what he is thinking. And then this is the fourth and final, I think, conditional use hearing of the evening. This is the first one I have correspondence on. So whenever you want that, Ken, I'll.
Colin, I've got a request as the chairman. Can you make this concise and then we'll go into Q&A with you?
I will.
Because I think we know a lot about the
Yeah,
garden.
I think
We
you
know
know
your
this. It's, the request is just to be able to serve outside. It's a big area. It's up to 300 feet from the service counter. And it's too dangerous, apart from anything else, to hold boiling water in a pot or carry a tea tray. So we'd like to be able to serve people safely in the far distances in particular, in a variety of ways, not always every day, but just the ability to do so when needed.
So I'll just clarify a couple things. The main service area is going to be where the garage is now.
That's the service counter, and there'll certainly be a walk-up service.
Right.
But there's other ideas like the tea service in the garden, which is always going to be a we'll bring it to you.
Right.
Or maybe a private chef does a little, dinner in the corner to the table in that case.
But then you're also talking about a couple service carts where there'd be alcohol on those carts.
To mention that, and the alcohol application is going through the village board right now.
Right.
Again, it's for convenience and safety because it's such a big area with different terrains and inclines, gravel, grass, all that kind of thing.
Okay. Hearing that now, I'm gonna start with, let's see, how can I mix this up? I can start with Monique and go to the
No.
left. I should be taking notes of combinations. Monique, you're on. Questions?
I guess I'm not sure that I understand the need. I mean, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out what's in our purview and what's not at this point. Because if you have a counter, like I have a service counter, and people come and buy their beverages, and then they go and sit wherever they want to sit. So what? But are we voting on I mean, I guess I'm not sure exactly what we're looking at.
That's a good point. I wasn't either until I talked to Brent, and maybe we need to talk about that, because the alcohol license, or in this case, excuse me, are you going just for the wine license or wine and beer?
Wine and beer.
Okay, so those two licenses, they go to the village board.
Yeah.
As we know. So is there anything we should deal with? I asked Brent the question, can you have multiple service areas? And he responded,
Why don't you respond?
please respond. I'm tossing the ball to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's, not one fits every mold, everyone is kind of individual. So, you have a variety of, outdoor service. So some is you're physically being, like tableside service. But I mean, that could include everything from, there's a standalone place like the SIP application where you can, get your food and beverage at this spot out in the yard that's not, affixed to the brick and mortar business itself. But the same, request, the same process applies just for the, tableside service or busing service. The way for non-service tables to work, and we do have a few of these that exist in town, it's kind of like a picnic table.
Yeah.
You can take something, grab it, go sit down, and typically they have like a trash can or something, you're busing your own. Now, obviously, not a reasonable expectation to assume they're not coming to wipe down tables, that's happening. But that's the same process, the same condition use request is whether you're physically being served at the table, whether you're, grabbing something, procuring something from a gazebo, from a little tent, whatever it is, cart at a couple locations, or if
So
if that transaction's happening out of doors.
Okay, but we're basically changing the use of the Secret Garden to include a restaurant that serves beer and wine, right? Because this service can take place in the whole area. That's what he needs to have permitted. And it doesn't matter, he could have a bar here, a bar there, a kitchen, outdoor kitchen. So we're looking at the whole area, right? I mean, I don't think that's an issue. I guess I'm just trying to understand, I'm not trying to make this hard.
But what are we approving here today? We're
Yeah.
not approving the alcohol license. The
No.
village board's gonna
Right.
wrestle with that, so we take that off the table.
It's just a change of use from the garden to a restaurant. Is that right?
I don't believe so.
Is that just adding?
My request here is just to allow a busing service, basically. We already knew it was an outdoor event venue, and that's been discussed many times. It's purely about, can we take food to people or drink to people, rather than do they have to get it themselves from the building?
Is that a decision we normally do? Okay.
Yep.
So that is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the way the food is being served?
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
You're up.
thank you. That's what I was trying to get at, and I'm cool with that.
And if I may, the A, B, C are not fixed stations, they're not physically built. They might not be there, it's just the ability to serve from different places depending on the event. They were obviously smart choices, because you can see people, they can see you, but they're not something that is built in the garden.
Well, Are you doing food prep in the garage? I'll call it the garage, but A.
Yes.
So A is kind of.
Ace, yes, that's the central area.
Rather than going around the horn, I'll ask you, are there other questions that people, or clarifications that people like? Go ahead, Larry, and then I'll come back to you, Andy.
One question that people in your neighborhood have asked me is, basically, if you think of this as an additional new business, have you thought about where people can use a restroom?
Yes, there's 2 ADA bathrooms in what is labeled there the house, and that was required of me to make it into a commercial facility.
Okay, great.
Andy, your question?
Yeah, you're already serving food and drink in the house, the garage.
Yes, that will be true. However, for example, if I did this English afternoon tea, which is now famous, although we've not begun, that would probably be something which we would hopefully just bus because it's complicated. It's a tea stand, it's boiling water in a kettle.
Oh, I guess,
Take it to them.
yeah, I just couldn't remember, we've already approved sort of restaurant in the building,
Yes.
or whatever, that you can have this service. So it's just, if the reference to sit was, now they want to have an outdoor station, that's very similar to this. So, okay, that's all fine, so as we know what we're doing.
I just have a quick question. You probably told us this before, but what hours are you considering?
Not quite sure yet, but I would, right now, I'm thinking maybe 9 or 10 in the morning to early evening. But it's early days, so I think it would evolve. Of course, there's the noise ordinances, and I'm aware of my 2 neighbors, so I'm going to be very cautious with that too.
Other questions, BD?
I assume parking is not an issue.
There's, what is it, 36 spots, I said? 31 currently. So that was discussed when I created the secret garden and when I came for the fencing application, and also when we converted the building to commercial. The parking was looked by a plan committee at that time and was approved.
Okay, well, one other quick question. You say you'll soon be deeding it to a nonprofit, so then would they have to come back and reapply for all this in the nonprofit's name?
No, it runs
So
with the
we'll go
property.
with the property, okay. Okay.
Rick, any questions?
I think that Colin narrowed it down as to what we're actually looking to have approved in terms of the busing, and I don't see basis really to oppose it based on that narrow interpretation. So I'm fine with it.
Only comment I have has nothing to do with your proposal. Would you be willing to move your storage piles farther away from the road of 42? It seems like over the years,
Yes.
debris and so forth, materials have been stored in, I'll call it your front yard or your
I
street yard.
apologize for that.
Would you be willing to move that?
The piles.
It has no bearing on this approval,
No.
but as long as I got your attention.
Very fair comment. The piles that you see currently are waiting for use approval. So there won't be anything in the front lot going forward, except very temporary.
Okay.
And the very nice thing is, thanks to you guys, you approved the fence in the back, and now it's fully built as an 80-foot fence, and all my debris is hidden behind it. So when you drive north, it looks very nice. So, yeah, I'm all for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So have any deer made it over the fence?
No, I'm deer free.
Good.
I'm selling rabbits by the brace.
Can I have a motion? Oh, Brent, I'm sorry.
Correspondence.
Oh,
We have the following comments on the proposed conditional use permit. 1, what are the hours, days of operation that the garden will be open for serving food and alcohol? 2, will there be outdoor lighting that is on after sunset? Will the type of lighting be visible from neighboring property? It would be preferred if a type of fixture is used that does not light up the surrounding neighborhood and the sky. 3, what is the impact on traffic and on what days of the week? Or is it restricted to certain days only? 4, will trash be handled promptly the same day and disposed of in appropriate sealed containers to prevent wild animals from foraging for food? 5, will there be adequate restroom facilities for the size of groups anticipated? 6, will weddings or other celebrations be considered in the future? With alcohol, weddings can get out of control and become quite noisy. this would not be desirable for the neighborhood. Respectfully submitted, David and Deborah and David Leaders.
I can speak to all of those if you don't mind going through them one by one. I'll be brief.
Well, I think some
We've spoken of some.
hours and days of operation.
I'm not quite sure, to be honest. We don't have a website yet, so it can be very, very slow going to start. I have rentals there, as you know, right next door, so I'm not going to be disturbing them in the morning, so that stops. We're not going to be serving alcohol at 8 o'clock in the morning either. We're not going to be serving all the way till sunset because there'll be no amplified music after 9 o'clock because of ordinances. There won't be lighting in the garden generally after sunset because sunset's not till 10 p.m. at the height of the season, by which time we'll be done. It's not going to get dark enough to use lights. Not that I won't have lights sometimes for private use or for special events, but the whole idea is it's a place which is peaceful, which is calm, which is beautiful. And so this is not a place where I want the wild parties or want to have a big crowd. And the same with weddings. The idea of weddings horrifies me because it's all about perfection and tension and anxiety, and much rather the 50th wedding anniversary or a private small gathering. So I'm aware of all those things, and I'll be very cognizant of them. And my neighbors who wrote that, of course, live in Madison, and they don't live here at all. So, I certainly won't be disturbing that.
Do you have permanent lighting in the garden right now?
There's no lighting.
Trash.
Trash, I have a going garbage dumpster. Right now it's emptied twice, once every 2 weeks, but I'm sure that will be at least weekly. And my trash disposal from the kitchen will submit to the state code for trash disposal. So that will all be done the proper way. It won't be hanging around, certainly.
And the dumpster has a locking bar that goes over the top.
It has, it's got 2 flip things and there's a pin, which I generally put across because the wind can lift the lids.
Okay. They have them that automatically have a bar when they dump it. They'll dump and open the bar and both sides open, and then when I put it down, that locking bar goes back and
Yeah,
locks.
no, it doesn't lock. It's going garbage's own dumpster, which you rent from.
Yeah, well, that's what we have too.
Right, so I put a piece of rebar across when it's full or when it's, it's not being pumped.
Did that address the questions? Okay. Any additional questions? Okay, Colin? Okay, then I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the conditional use outdoor service application for Colin Welford at 10355 Bella Vista Lane as presented.
Thank you. In a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any final comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 11, Ann Abbott, 9886 Water Street, deck guardrail, design review.
Similar project to some we've had of late, in that same area, down near the Village Beach, with the snow loads from, I was gonna say Hurricane Elsa, Winter Storm Elsa, Blizzard Elsa. Ultimately, what happened is that snow load pulled the deck away from the house itself, so it was in need of some work. So in doing so, they felt this is the time just to do a full rebuild of it. So similar to projects in the past, I'm looking to use Trex products. They don't have a material sample on the railing, but it's a similar style to what's been approved in the past. Decking is a gray Trex deck. The design application filled out and some nice proposal versus existing pictures. It shows very similar to what exists, a wood look. No issues from my end. This is another project that went before HPC and BD, if you'd be so kind to speak to their recommendation.
No issues from HPC, it's what we've been seeing a lot of white Trex and woodland look. So we all voted for it. Recommended.
Any questions from the committee? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
I move to approve the deck/guardrails design review application for Ann Abbott at 9886 Water Street as presented.
Second?
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Okay, and it's approved. Number 12, Michael Wagner, County Q, lot number 121-01-133-127-44B2, a new single-family residence for design review.
Okay, so out past the village office, headed east, the portion of the property that they did a fair bit of cutting of trees a couple years, last year, the year before, removing a bunch of dead and dying ash trees, a whole bunch of juniper. So it looks a lot different than it did before, but that's a good, I guess, visual marker for where we're talking about. I think our applicant is online. Should we have any questions for him?
Okay.
From a design standpoint, obviously here for design review, we don't have material samples. Ultimately, what they're at this time, they got a decent amount of information in the design checklist. They kind of have a design intent statement, which is from anything I've seen before, and then some 3D renderings of what it would look like. I'll let him speak to that.
Yeah, well, sorry about the trees. When we bought the property, it had beautiful trees, but the emerald ash borer and the wind last year pretty much took them all down. But we do plan to try to, replant. Especially, we own both lots, so we own both lot 2 and lot 3. So we plan to, do quite a bit of planting there in lot 3 to get some privacy back from the road and try to, recreate our own little piece of Door County forest. And as Brent said, basically our inspiration is to try to make it look like a barn. My wife's grandparents had a dairy barn, and our 2 neighbors to the north and to the, east, they both kind of look like farmhouses. So we thought something to look a little bit like a barn would be good. On these renderings, I just realized today that the siding is vertical. It's horizontal. We really want it to be vertical to look, more like a barn, but a mix of LP Smart Side that will, have a stained look to it. LP's come out with some new products that look like stained woods. We really want it to look mostly like Ephraim Clayworks. We really like the look of that, barn building on 42. So this is probably not quite the perfect color, but a mix of stone, a wood look product that looks, similar to Ephraim Clayworks, and then a matte metal roof. We don't want a shiny metal roof, but a metal roof that would kind of, I think, fit the style of a barn. So.
Okay. So there's no material samples, Mike?
No, I'd be happy to get them. We had a busy week, so I apologize. But yeah, I'm happy to get those. I worked with the LP guy today to figure out what we're doing. And so I think it looks very similar to Ephraim Clayworks. As good as LP Smart Side can look to look like wood versus a painted product.
And also the color of the matte metal roof.
Yep. Yeah, so it's kind of like a dark gray black. It could look either just because it's matte versus shiny.
Questions from the committee?
Nice. Is permit based on the height?
This is not.
It's not conditional.
No, we average below 28 on this. So.
Okay.
No, this is just a design review.
Just a design review.
Okay.
Who's the builder?
Great question. So my cousin, White Oak Builders in Watertown, is gonna, do the heavy lifting, and then we're using some Door County local contractors. So we bought the lots from Brian Reinhardt, and so he has family members and referrals that we're using for the septic, for the excavation, for the concrete, as well as for the electrician, HVAC, and plumbing.
Okay. And when do you anticipate starting if you get approval?
As soon as we can. Yeah. So we have some, hopes and dreams. Obviously construction moves slower than you want it to nowadays. But yeah, I mean, we're ready to break ground. We've owned the land for 4 or 5 years now, so we've been waiting until we could get a design that we loved and we had the financial ability to get moving on it before we submitted stuff.
So are there,
The driveway is
Like-
gravel too, by the way. I don't know if you're familiar with the Karstens, but they're the house just to the north of us. We bought the lots from them. He's the one that did the subdividing. So yeah, so the driveway is stone. Both the driveway that's there already that the Karstens put in, as well as the driveway that we put in. We just have a concrete apron on the front of the garage, as well as a concrete walkway to the front door.
I guess the one thing we're missing here is material samples, as far as exact color. Is that a concern given the location of the house and the description, or would we want him to come back give him an ability to start, but then we have him come back in a month to bring back the material samples so we can see the materials and the colors, and, if you're gonna change to a vertical versus a horizontal, I would see that we could still let them start, but make it contingent on in the next, let's say next EC meeting, bring over the samples.
Yeah, I think we have to be consistent with what design review says.
Not just design review, right?
Right.
We're just looking at the design.
Right,
Yeah,
but this is
Go ahead.
typically would be looking at samples here, that we want to see a sample physically of the material, of the colors in order to approve. But I think a workaround might be if we give you an approval to start, and with the agreement, you come back next month and bring us those samples.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to do that. And I mean, if you guys had any feedback, I know we're not in the historical district. I read all of that stuff as I was preparing, what we're presenting here tonight. But, we're open to anything for, that. We're not married to any one particular, thing. We just thought it would be cool to look, like a barn, like, the Anderson Barn Museum, like Ephraim Clay Works, just like my wife's, grandparents' dairy barn, and fit in with all the farmhouses that, exist in Ephraim. So.
Mm-hmm. Would that be acceptable to receive the samples, color samples, material samples a month from now?
Sure.
I assume the pictures the renderings aren't, are true to color. That's what it's actually gonna look like, right? That's a very nice color feature, to be honest with you.
Yeah, very, very close to that. It's just LP doesn't allow it to do exactly. So we are, but yeah, I'd be happy to bring the samples of what my wife and I feel that LP brings closest to this. But the stone, we want to look exactly like that. And the roof, it's just the LP doesn't quite do it exactly perfect how I want to. But I think we found one that looks a lot like how Ephraim Clay Works looks. Yeah, so.
Okay.
And this meets all the setbacks and everything that you.
Any additional questions?
If you look at the site plan there, that little dotted thing, so Peter did that original engineered plan. You can see the 30-foot and the 50-foot on that one there. Yeah, so the 30-foot and then the 50-foot there. So it's the same envelope that Peter had when he originally did the engineered the engineered one there. Yep.
Larry, your question?
I have a couple of questions for Brent, and not to put you on the spot, but just sort of to think out loud about this. I think the application is great. I love the look of the design, but if you look at the schematic, which is the first floor plan, it identifies the separate garage, then the house on the other side, and then in the middle, there's a patio and there's an enclosed breezeway. So my two questions, again, not to put you on the spot, but just to get a sense of your thinking, is if I understand it correctly, if the garage is attached to the house, it's not treated as an accessory structure, so you don't need to have the conditional use permit for that. As you look at this, is that garage attached to the house because of the breezeway? And the second related question, again, not to put you on the spot, if someone said later, what is the footprint of this structure? Are we just, for purposes, thinking about the enclosed breezeway as part of the footprint of the house, and also same with the garage? It's just, we have it in front of us, just to ask the question.
To me, this is an attached garage.
Okay,
So,
and so that the breezeway would be part of the footprint in order to have it attached.
agreed.
Okay.
And then if you scroll up, because there's living quarters over the garage, correct? Yeah. Can you scroll up for the front view or scroll down whichever way? There we go. I just want to see the connection a little bit of that breezeway. Given the question that they're just, so it's what we've been calling conditioned space in there. Looks like it's glass.
Yeah, combination of glass and walls.
Mm-hmm.
But these are all good examples as this conversation develops, is looking at examples.
Right.
Because again, one person's breezeway is another person's conditioned space. I've seen breezeway, the same use of the word breezeway. I've seen just a cement slab with a roof over the top too.
Right. But this is actually the front entrance of this house is in, so I wouldn't call this a breezeway anymore. That's actually the front entrance.
Yep.
To the house itself. Good clarification. Any other questions? I'll take a motion.
Okay. Let's see. I move to approve the new single-family residence design review application for Michael Wagner at County Q 121-01-133-127-44B2 as presented, contingent upon sample material review within 30 days.
30 days to do it because our next meeting is in 28, so that'll work. Can I have a second?
Second.
Any comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Mike, you got your permanent proof here.
All I can recommend, look both ways before pulling out on Q during the summer.
We will. No, thank you so much. And yeah, like I said, we're open to any feedback you have on the materials once I drop them off. So.
Great. Well, we'll look forward to seeing them next month.
All right. Thank you.
Number 13 now, Slade Martin, 10426 Water Street, sign design review. Brent.
Yeah, before I start, and I'll still continue, but Slade or Sarah, were either of you able to join us?
Hi, Brent, it's Sarah. We're in two separate cars on our way home, so I'm not sure if Slade got logged in. Can you hear me okay?
Can hear you fine. I'll do my bit, but, well,
okay,
Sarah.
Okay,
If
you're cutting out occasionally, and I'll let you read my letter, but I'm here for questions if anybody has any.
That was gonna be my question to you, was whether you want me to read your letter. So,
yes, please.
Slade and Sarah are the new owners of property in the north end of Ephraim. You'll see their business sign, the temporary business sign has been in place for a little bit of time now. I hope to be opening the doors in hopefully a couple of weeks. So they work with me. Typically signs in the North Business District, because it's not historic, don't always come before the committee for design review. So the temporary sign I approved to get their name out there, that, kind of a coming soon type of a thing. But this one was, I guess, a little bit unique, and just wanted to run it through committee, whether or not they had any concerns relative to tractor. So I guess I'll speak first to the sign itself. From a location standpoint, if you just look at the physical home cooking Red Barn Biscuit Company, there's another picture design here. At 12 square feet, it's half as big as they could go. So as long as you're outside the road right away in North Ephraim, you can have 24 square feet of signage. As proposed, their sign's only 12 square feet. But I guess the part, and maybe Slade and Sarah can speak a little bit, but from the rendering, and I know is someone took some liberties, whoever drew this up. I think Sarah had some concerns relative to scale. It's maybe out of proportion, so that's why they took the additional actual photographs. But looking at this, at least, you know, the structure that's physically holding the sign is not part of the tractor. The tractor is kind of designed to park adjacent to or what, but the sign can exist without the tractor. But with that said, it's unique enough, and I don't think we have another example like it. Again, it kind of comes to the definition of, you know, what does this group feel is a sign? You know, it's being red barn, red tractor, you know, there could be argued there's a theme there, but it obviously says McCormick Farm Hall. It doesn't say Red Barn Biscuit Company. So unique enough that I guess I wanted some additional feedback on whether or not there were concerns at all with this. What do you call it? What precedent, if any, of this sets? If there are any other similar things like this that exist? Is it art? Is it just a piece of equipment that sits? Again, trying to address what else could this be? You know, we have language in the ordinance about the parking of vehicles, you know, travel trailers, equipment like that. It has to be operable. It has to be licensed. I know from talking to Slade and Sarah, the tractor is operable. You don't need a license like you do a travel trailer or a motor vehicle to hold it up to. So I guess that's just it. There might be a Q&A here. I don't know what more to add other than I didn't know what to call it and didn't know if there was concern here or not. I obviously think it's, you know, in keeping, fitting with the motif of what they're trying to do, but it wasn't something I was comfortable just on my signature saying, yeah, this looks good. With that, Sarah and Slade are, you know, with us online, but in anticipation of them not being here, she did write something for me to read. So, dear members of the Plan Committee, thank you for reviewing our sign application for the Red Barn Biscuit Company located at 10426 Water Street in North Ephraim. We apologize we cannot attend in person. However, our daughter, who is a senior at Gibraltar, has her regional track meet tonight. As lifelong residents of Northern Door County and longtime business owners in the historic district of Ephraim, preserving the history, charm, and aesthetics of Ephraim is important to us. When choosing a name for our new venture, we knew we wanted to pay tribute to the history of the North End and the building we are in, which was formerly part of the Red Barn Shops, hence our name, the Red Barn Biscuit Company. A couple of notes about our application. First, we'd like to mention that the computer-generated image of the sign mounted on the tractor makes the sign appear much larger than it is. In your packet, you will also find pictures of the actual sign next to the tractor for a more accurate comparison. The sign itself is 4 feet by 3 feet for a total of 12 square feet, which is half of the permitted 24 square feet. The location of the sign does not prohibit people from seeing other business signs, road signs, or the line of sight for people entering or exiting the parking lot. For the last couple of decades, this property has languished. We are looking forward to reviving the property and being an active part of the growing and thriving business community on the North End. We appreciate your consideration of our application. Respectfully, Slade and Sarah Martin.
Thank you, Brent. Why don't we start off with comments, questions? I'm looking around.
It's an interesting look. I guess I don't have any objection. It's far enough off the road and not obstructing anything.
Well, they have to be at least outside the highway right away.
Right.
And the highway right away there is 33 feet, I believe, from the center line. So it'd have to be at least,
Sure.
the front of it would have to be 33 feet off.
I assume it's in their front parking lot, right? It's in their front parking lot, or is that just a little paved area?
Maybe this, Sarah, I don't know if you can hear us, but is the tractor just parked there? Correct? Would it, or the?
Yes. Yeah, the tractor is parked there, I guess, as a temporary fixture. So we were planning on placing the sign obviously beyond the 33 feet. I think Slade was kind of thinking 36 feet, but in the same relative area where the previous sign was, which is kind of where we have the temporary sign now, so that it wouldn't be taking up any parking, but would be on the grassy area, you know, in between, I guess, the parking spaces and the driveway entrance.
Monique?
The tractor going to remain there year round, or is it seasonal?
That's a good question. We could do either. I mean, it's a fully functioning tractor, so I mean, we certainly could take it down. I mean, we are planning on definitely being open, you know, full time through the end of October, and I think we're looking at weekends into November and December this first year to see how that goes. But you know, if it was an issue, or we may, you know, want to protect the tractor a little bit, so we can certainly move it in the winter.
With questions? Andy?
Similar question. I was going to ask if the tractor is considered an integral part of the sign, or are these two things? We have a sign structure and a tractor that just happens to be parked under it.
I mean, we were looking. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you done?
Okay, go ahead, Cheryl.
Okay. I guess we were looking at it as one unit. The, you know, framework that we have built so far is, you know, mounted around, you know, the tractor as, you know, a way to hold it up. You know, I mean, obviously you can stick a sign in the ground or whatever, but we're looking at it. I know there's nothing exactly like this in the village, but there are other things. Like our neighbors to the north have two, you know, fairly substantial stone pillars that, you know, mount or hold the Island Lavender sign. So, you know, a little different than two stone pillars, but, you know, this is our structure for holding the sign is what we are hoping for.
But it doesn't actually support the sign. If you took the tractor away, the sign is independent.
We would have to redo things so that, I mean, the sign itself was made and we could get posts to attach to it, but we have the posts that we have and everything have been fitted to the tractor.
Oh,
Okay. So this is actually the support base for the sign.
That's correct.
You said you could have a stone pillar, you couldn't. And do we have any ordinances or restrictions about how big or massive the support base can be for a sign? We just have the surface of the sign restricted to 24 square feet. Is that correct? You can put it on anything you want.
Is there a height limit?
They have the height listed, height works. It's 7 feet 10. I think it's either 8 feet or 10 feet.
there's a height limit.
But we fall below that.
Yeah.
Sarah, I know you said the rendering was not accurate, but would the sign sit above the tractor like that?
Yeah, it would sit above, like, I guess the engine, or I don't know, the front part of the tractor. So it would sit, and it's pretty proportional to that, you know, main front part. This is where Slade would be much better than I am. And I've had a very long day. So anyway, it is, yes, we would it would be resting or not resting or whatever, mounted above, you know, the front part of the tractor above the engine, if that makes sense. So the tractor would be like horizontal, you know, to the road, I guess, or perpendicular to the road.
As I understand it, unlike the concept from the rendering, that seemed to be a structure with a tractor parked under it. You're saying that the tractor is actually, the sign is actually attached to the tractor.
Yes. So we've been working with our contractor and with Art Weborg, and he's been fabricating the, I guess, framework to hold the sign. And then Alicia Dobner actually hand painted the signs for us. So the sign is designed to go into the framework that's like mounted to or attached to the tractor. So that's what holds it up.
Okay, so back to Monique's question, if you took this away in the winter to store it inside, the sign would go away.
This is true. We would not have a sign up, which, you know, is something we've toyed around with. We hadn't made a decision one way or another. And there are people that, you know, tarp their signs in the winter, you know, just as a protection anyway. So that was something that we were still considering.
Okay. I don't know if that makes any difference, but it's helpful to clarify, at least now I get it. And if we don't have any restrictions on to what you can attach a sign as its base, that's what I see this functioning as. I don't really see a problem with it. If you constructed a fake tractor, not a real one, to be a decorative part of the sign, would that make any difference? That was a rhetorical question to the committee, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, am I supposed to answer that? But yeah, I mean, I think the real tractor has a better look. But yes, but I mean, yeah, I'll let you go on.
Larry?
There are a couple of provisions of the sign ordinance that could conceivably bear on this, but if I understand this correctly, it really is a temporary sign, because it can be moved and stored in the winter, and therefore it does require a special plan committee permit. But I don't have any problem with it at all. I think it looks terrific, actually. If we're going to apply our ordinances. There's one that also says that the parking for extensive periods of time for vehicles decorated to advertise attractions not on the same premises where the decorated vehicle is parked is prohibited. And to me, that implies that you could park it on your own premises indefinitely, which may or may not be what we like, but again, I don't see any violation of the ordinance.
Great.
Not exactly sure what I think. But if I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I think it's a cool tractor. I like the sign. I guess where I would come down on it is if it doesn't violate the letter or spirit of our sign ordinance, for example, attaching the sign to the tractor all of a sudden changes it from a 24 square foot, whatever it was, the size of what they could have, to something far in excess of what they could have. That not being the case, as I understand the discussion, I guess I would have no problem. The minute, you know, I would be told, well, if it's attached to the tractor, all of a sudden that is now bigger than what's allowed, well then, I mean, I think that we would have a problem, but that not being the case, I guess I don't.
BD.
I guess I don't have a problem with it. I guess I'd like to see it up and running for a month or two, and see what kind of reaction people give it. Try and see how many comments we get or how neat it looks.
I will say that we've struggled with abandoned vehicles, not to say that anybody would abandon this tractor, but on this property, we fought for years to get a vehicle. I will also say, I think it's at the Lavender Farm, and I think it's a Model T, a late T or an early A that's parked out there, and I think it's parked out there year round. Why they don't take it in the winter, I don't know. But it's, then the other side of me says, what if they wanted to bring that cart that's behind there, that wooden cart, as kind of a cool old piece of farm equipment? I mean, how big do we go? Tractor's pretty big. It should be blocking any views, but it's probably a lot bigger than even the stone pillars that anybody else has built. When you put it's a small sign on top of a decent sized tractor. So I'm torn. I'm also thinking about precedents. You know, it'd be nice if we had a dimension that it couldn't be bigger than this or that, but I guess we can deal with that when the next one comes along. And somebody else would want to do something else creative. I do struggle a little bit with having that sit there. Now, Sarah, I think you do have to come back at least to us and say, is this a temporary sign or is it a permanent sign? So if the sign, because when I first looked at it and I was okay with it, I thought that the 4 posts went all the way down to the ground. And I realized looking at the exhaust system, this tractor, that it couldn't be backed out of there. The posts would be in the way, but I thought the sign was going to basically be lowered over the tractor. But now you're telling us the tractor and the sign are one and the same. So if you're gonna take the tractor away, then the sign goes away, and then you have to think, are you gonna come back to us then for a different permanent sign? I know you're feeling your way as far as if you
Yes, I guess, I mean, I apologize, you're cutting out, so I apologize if I'm interrupting you, but I guess, I mean, the application, we filled it out as a permanent sign. You know, we obviously did the temporary one with the banners we have now, you know, so that we're not repeating the process. And, you know, I wasn't sure if it really made a difference if it came down in the winter or not. You know, like I said, some people cover their signs with tarps or whatever in the winter. And there's the possibility, I mean, the building can be open in the winter. So if things are going well, I mean, there's a chance that we at some point may stay open winter weekends and stuff. So I would view this more as a permanent, you know, application.
Okay. Okay, so the track, okay. Have we ever done something like that, approving a sign for like a year? That's so much different like this? I can't think of having done that. Or it sounds like what I heard from consensus is most people on the plan committee are good with the sign. Sarah, we're struggling because it's different.
And I'll just say, I would feel a lot, sorry, Sarah, I would feel a lot better if the sign were independent of the tractor.
Yeah.
And you'd have to reconfigure so you could pull it in and out. But that's the impression I got from that rendering, that it had its own support system. And then that's the permanent, that's the sign.
Right.
The fact that you add the tractor to it is just kind of an accessory or, you know, sort of an independent thing. And I think it adds to it. It's cute, makes the point you want, and that allows you to go store the tractor under roof if you want.
Right.
For the winter, but I have a lot less question marks if that were what we're approving. Is this worth deferring until we get a more accurate rendering of this? Or just stall?
Sir, if you look at the rendering, you probably can understand it. I know you're in your car right now, but it looks like those 4 legs that are black, I assume steel. I thought they went all the way down to the ground. Yeah. And that held up the signs, could be plus or minus, the tractor's really parked underneath the sign.
Okay. To be honest, I don't actually know how it's going to be set up. That's really more of a Slade question. And I don't know, I guess we can come back with that if you want, or I mean, regardless of whether the posts go all the way to the ground or they're mounted to the tractor, I mean, it still is going to take up the same amount of space either way. And even if we did want to move it, even if it's mounted to the tractor, I mean, we can always unmount it to move it. So whether the post, you know, went to the ground and you drove the tractor underneath it or it was mounted, I mean, we have the ability to take it on and off if needed, if that makes a difference.
Yeah, for what it's worth, and like I said, it's too bad Slade's not here, and I don't, yeah, but the impression I got from Slade was that the sign and structure could be independent of the tractor. Now, granted, that was several days ago, but that is the impression I got from Slade.
What
I can
about
try to call him in if.
How would it affect you if we took another look at this next month? I mean, you could still have your temporary sign up there for your opening and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, the temporary sign is, definitely a lot bigger and, but yeah, I mean, it's, it's an option.
Because I think if that could be independent, then we don't care about the tractor. If it's parked under there, but I don't think the way this is drawn, at least what I see, even if you lift it up, that would have to be mounted to the ground somehow. Otherwise, you just probably blow over in a big storm. So I think there's any unanswered questions to give you kind of an approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess and maybe like I said, I'm not thinking about it the right way, or I've had a long day, well, a long month, whatever. So whether the sign is, the posts go to the ground or it's mounted to the tractor, it's, like I said, it's still like visually more or less looking the same, besides the post being a little bit longer, and it's still taking up the same amount of space. And we could take it on and off. So I guess I don't understand, or would you prefer it one way, or I don't understand why the difference. You know what I guess.
I'm just speaking personally, my preference would be to have the sign independent. And not make, that would relieve you of, you want to take the tractor away, you don't have to be coming back for a new sign.
I'm looking at section, this would be 18D, prohibited signs, characteristics of signs, subsection X. And that says the parking for extensive periods of time of vehicles decorated to advertise attractions not on the same premises where the decorated vehicle is parked is a prohibited form of signage, which is the opposite of what they're doing here. This is on the same side.
Right.
So it seems to me that because that is prohibited, that what they're doing is contemplated if you call the tractor a vehicle. I'm wondering if that's would be just allowed.
Yeah. Well, isn't that, the spirit of that is you can't
advertise,
if it has, like
they're advertising on their property.
park at the beach with your car painted.
And I understand, it just seemed as though they're doing the opposite of that. They're advertising on their premises. Just happen to be using a vehicle as part of it.
Yeah, and I think, your logic kind of holds. You can use a vehicle as part of your advertising.
But if you're
Kelsey
using it
has
as
Slade
part
on
of
the
the
phone.
advertising, signage.
I have Slade on the phone. I don't know if we want to ask him any specific questions about the tractor. Shut him up and.
Let us continue this discussion. If we do, we can go back.
Yes, I would like to see it, maybe how it's going to be, if it's going to be mounted on a tractor, then let's see it mounted on the tractor. And if that's the way this is not the way it's going to be, obviously.
No.
So.
Can you let Slade answer the question about whether the posts go to the ground or the posts are just attached to the tractor? Because I don't know the answer to that, and that was one of the big debates or issues.
Sorry, I'm going to be intermediary for a second. Slade, they have a question whether the sign and the posts are attached to the tractor or whether they're just attached to the ground.
Okay. Now, that raises a question. Can they move that sign anywhere they want on the property? One day it's over here, the next day it's over the side, next day it's in the parking lot? Or are we gonna say that they have to have because all of our other signs are permanent signs or they're not permanent signs. So if it's a permanent sign, then we should have a decision and a location of where that tractor is gonna be parked. Because I think we said it's not a temporary sign, so it's a permanent sign.
Well, can we require that? That it has to stay in one place?
Otherwise, I think it'd be a temporary sign. I don't know. You'd have to look back at the ordinance. Yeah.
Well, that track itself is is not signage, it's just part of the sign structure. And the idea that similar to elaborate stone pillars or something that are physically holding it up, different. Because if there were concerns that it's signage.
Yeah.
Because the tractor itself is, even though it doesn't say Red Barn Biscuit, it's red. But I mean, obviously, it's all complementary things. You're not gonna paint the tractor blue and have the red sign. It makes sense.
I don't have an issue with the idea of a tractor. I mean, I think our own ordinance contemplates that a vehicle could be decorated to use for advertising purposes. So I think that the tractor itself is not necessarily a problem by our own ordinance.
What if the tractor was 20 feet tall? I mean, get a big tractor in there. There's tractors that big. Then when we start, now we exceed the height limit. So we have a bearing on that, right? We have a 10-foot in the air.
Maybe that's something we need to change.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because this is below 10 feet.
Right.
I'm just thinking about the ball, because it is part of the sign in my mind. It's a red tractor.
But they comply with all the dimensional requirements of the sign, including using the tractor as a pier.
Right, that answers the comment I'm making.
But it should be in a stationary place.
I think if it's gonna be a permanent sign, and they could certainly make an obligation of where they were gonna park that.
Is that Slade's intention to keep it in one spot, a permanent spot?
Slade, did you catch that? Is it your intention to keep it in one spot?
Once the tractor is in position, the plan is like, we're gonna do landscaping around it, like it's gonna be part of the scene. It's not, we're not planning on moving it once I'd like to put a surround around it and, do landscaping is the plan.
Will it stay there year round then?
Yeah.
That goes back to your original question.
So Slade is the idea, and I don't know if you can hear me or not, but is the idea to put the tractor in the same position approximately as the wooden trailer that's your temporary sign is on right now?
I think I have it on there. I believe it's 36 feet, I said, from the center line. I think the county requires 33 feet. So the sign will be, at the edge of the hood. So the very furthest out point, it should be 36 feet. And then the bulk of the tractor is going to be, obviously to the right of that. So, closer to the building.
Correct, but is it gonna be in the grass or in the parking lot?
Where the original sign was. Like right now, the hay wagon that I have with the temporary sign is directly over the hole I pulled out from the Cloud 9 sign. So
Okay.
it's gonna be, positionally, it'll be in the exact same place as the previous sign.
Okay.
So are we satisfied with that to be a
Yeah.
permanent location then?
Yeah.
Other questions, comments? I'll take a motion.
Okay, I might have. I move to approve the sign design review application for Slade Martin at 10426 Water Street as presented.
A second?
Any further discussion? Do we want to? Was there patient? It was just right away.
Yeah.
But it did say where the old sign was.
Yes.
Previous sign.
I think with the interpretation I'm good.
Okay.
Handling it the normal process for ensuring setbacks and vision triangles and
Okay.
all that good stuff.
Okay. Then any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okey-doke. We look forward to seeing the tractor sign. Kelsey, you have been very patient.
Oh, I'm happy to.
And I hate to always put the bum's rush on you, but
It's okay.
we're here
I
to,
don't mind.
we're here to
actually.
approve.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind. No,
Let me
look at
introduce
the
you though. She's 2013 Ephraim Business Council event, Ephraim's Sweet Summer Send-Off is number one.
Yeah, so just to give a little bit of an introduction, obviously we're here for 2 agenda items, but just to talk about the first one, this is a new event that the EDC is looking at planning at the end of summer. It would be Saturday, August 22nd. Something that the EDC is really focusing on is highlighting how family-friendly Ephraim is, between the fact that we only serve beer and wine and the fact that so much of it is walkable both in the downtown and on the north end, so many of our amazing businesses. So this event is really for kids and families, and we would like to have it at Harborside Park. And we will bring in a children's musician. He also plays at Fear Ball. The kids love him. And things like balloon animals and, bubbles and, that kind of kid-friendly activities to be happening in the park itself. And we have been talking to Justin about having some of the fire trucks, maybe a police car too. I would have to still, we haven't coordinated that yet, but hopefully in the parking spaces to kind of do, I think it's called a touch a truck event. It's, where the kids can look at the fire trucks and climb in them and, kind of explore, because that's, when you're a kid, nothing cooler than looking at a fire truck. So we had a few actually locations in mind, but Justin was the one who kind of recommended that we do it downtown, because from his perspective with the fire trucks, it would be the easiest to do in Harborside Park. And then from a safety perspective as well, being able to kind of cordon off that section so we don't have kids, running with traffic and stuff like that. So it will just be in the Harborside Park area. Any questions I can answer?
Questions for Kelsey? Andy?
Yeah.
Bounce house?
No bounce house. Although I guess I should say hard no, but not planning on it. We don't really have enough room in Harborside Park. It'd be really fun.
Close Cherry Street.
We're not planning on closing Cherry Street, no, because we still have, Diana's Harborside or Hillside there. We want to make sure, her guests can get in and out. So no, we're not planning on closing Cherry Street.
Other questions of the event? Hearing none, take a motion.
I have to approve the event.
No, you keep going, go.
You gotta want a little. I've had 2 people from my right that got started. Okay, let's take turns here. Here we go.
Okay. I move that we approve the Ephraim Business Council's event application for Ephraim Sweet Summer Send-Off from 1 to 4 p.m. on Saturday, August 22nd, 2026, as presented.
Thank you. And a second? Thank you, Grace. Any further questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Got number 1. Now let's go on to number 2, which is Ephraim Business Council event, North End Path Celebration. I'm very curious what you've got going here.
Yeah, so I've talked a little bit to Ken and Brent about this, but I've finalized a few plans since then. Something that we are just so excited for as the Ephraim Business Council is the North End Path. And I know that this committee specifically spent a lot of work and time and energy on that north path. And it has been a long time coming, and I know businesses on the north end are really excited about it. So we want to just do something to celebrate the creation of this path and being able to connect all these amazing businesses. It kind of ties into a little bit of what I mentioned before, that we want to highlight the family friendliness and, being able to tell people to just leave your cars at your hotel and walk down to all these other amazing restaurants and shops and mini golf and all of those things, which are all within walking distance from those hotels. So this is a one-day event. It is in coordination with the very first farmers market of the summer, which is on Monday, June 22nd. It would run at the same time as the farmers market, which is 3 to 6 p.m. This would go along the path, but also it's a little bit of a ambiguous application just because we didn't want to put the cart before the horse, so businesses aren't fully signed up yet, but they're all excited and on board. But we didn't want to get too far into it if the event would go through. So, it's kind of that middle ground. But every business owner that I've talked to on the north end is really excited, and whether they would do an open house in their business. Some of them who have property along the sidewalk would be doing, putting up a 10 by 10 tent and doing more of an outdoor thing. Some people do it in their yards, some people do it inside their businesses, kind of business as usual. So every business is a little different, but just kind of in concept, we would like to celebrate the opening of this path. And we thought this would be a fun way to do it, and then it ends at the farmer's market to, you know, have a celebration with all of our amazing vendors that are there.
The comment I'll make, maybe I'll lead off on this one. The village board discussed having some kind of ribbon cutting. And we weren't quite sure how to do it because the path is going to be used as soon as the barriers are down. So they told Brent and I to do whatever we can to support whatever the from Business Council does. So as you're working your details, please keep us informed so that we'll have to figure out what role we can play also, but we'd be interested in celebrating it with
Absolutely,
PBC.
yeah.
Questions of Kelsey on this application?
You still have the big scissors we used? or-
That's what we asked.
Oh, where did those scissors go?
Brad got them from somebody.
We can send a message up the flagpole and see if anybody can find the big scissors.
I forgot about those.
I know a couple communities have them, so if Ephraim doesn't have them, I'm sure I can borrow. them.
Oh, okay. Then we have to get some ribbon.
That'll leave up to you, okay?
I gotta do something. Okay, could I have a motion?
I move that we accept the event application from Ephraim Business Council for a North End Path celebration from 3 to 6 p.m. on Monday, June 22nd, 2026, as presented.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Grace. And the
1 to 4, not 3 to 6.
Oh, wait.
No, this one's 3 to 6.
Oh.
1 to 4 was the last. Oh, you're right, that didn't get updated. I am so sorry. It is 3 to 6. So sorry, we did 2 at the same time. Good eye, Andy. This one is exclusively 3 to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Concurrent with the market.
Concurrent with the market, exactly. Yep, it's all happening at the same time.
Okay, as long as we're clear on after the motion, motion stands. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Kelsey.
We hope to see you all there. I know you
We'll
all
be there.
did a lot of work, so hopefully this whole committee will be able to do that.
Kelsey, when does music in the parks start?
The same day, that same night,
So they'll-
June 22nd, it'll start here at Harborside Park
At 6 o'clock?
at 6, yep, 6 to 8 p.m.
Okay.
So the farmer's market is 3 to 6, and then the concert is 6 to 8.
Thank you, Kelsey.
Thank you.
Okay. Last but not least, this is now the new number 16 Peninsula Pacers event, Wine Trail Trolley Pickup at the Village Hall. Brent?
Yeah, Dave can give some history on the event itself.
Dave, I was wondering why you were here. I thought you just enjoyed our meeting.
You get extra points.
So I guess just to set the table a little bit, it's an event permit, but the event is not happening in Ephraim, as the application will show, and as Dave will speak to, it's happening elsewhere. But other communities are working with, Dave and the Pacers to allow pickup locations in other communities. So I guess throughout the process, I can't remember who I was talking to.
Probably Brian or Claudia.
Claudia. Just, where do you want to go? Because from an event standpoint, if you're picking people up at hotels or something like that, really nothing you need for me, even if you wanted to use the fire station, admin parking lot, really not a big deal. Downtown is one where, I felt we needed to run that through committee just to make sure that this group was comfortable. So with that said, Dave.
So the event is on June 27th. It's in Bailey's Harbor on County Ave. We have bus stops at Sister Bay, Fish Creek, Egg Harbor, and Bailey's Harbor. The idea is to prevent people from driving and try to get as many stops within the municipalities that are walkable from as many hotels as possible. So that's why we'd like to be in the downtown area for Ephraim, because that's walkable to the closest hotels you have downtown. And now with the walking path, everybody up north can walk down. The idea is that they're staying in Ephraim, they'll come here. They're not going to drive from Sister Bay to come here because there's a bus stop in Sister Bay. They shouldn't drive from Fish Creek or Egg Harbor to come here because they've already got a stop closer to them. And the bus route is the way it's being set up, if approved, is to stop at Gibraltar first, to stop at a host hotel, which is the Parkwood, and then come down into Ephraim. To what has been done in the past is to circle through, to turn right here, and then turn back behind this alley here and stop and pick people up. We that feather flag right in the grassy area, in front of the library here, to say that's what the pickup area is. The shuttles will start at 10:45. They run basically every 35 to 45 minutes. They don't stop long. There'll be people waiting. They'll load them up and they leave. We don't want people lingering. We don't want the bus idling for very long, because that means the whole thing is slowed down, and a stop that was supposed to be every 45 becomes every 50 minutes, and every minute to an hour. So it's stop, load up the people that are here, to make a left-hand turn and head up and head back to Bailey's Harbor.
Questions of Dave? Is there any, you've made the point, which is a good point, the expectations are people are gonna walk from their hotels to the village hall here and get picked up, because, you know, parking is a premium here as everywhere else, so our concern I would have is that, are people going to drive here, park, hop on the shuttle? But
that's always a possibility. I will say the average attendance time is about 2 hours. So if they did drive and park here, there's probably an intent to use one of the businesses here. At least that would be like, otherwise, why else would you drive? There's ample parking in Gibraltar. It's going to be advertised that way, that if you're driving the destination, it's all the parking places behind the Gibraltar Info Center, in their downtown space is the main hub for Gibraltar. That's going to be one of the major stops. In Sister Bay, it's by the Door Hotel. And in Egg Harbor, it's by their visitor centers. All those places have ample parking. Well, not Sister Bay one, but the other two have more ample parking. The emails that go out are going to say it's for the local hotels. And that's the purpose of what it's for. And again, it is like a 2-hour stop. It's not, the event runs from 11 to 4, but most people only spend 2 hours. It's like,
any questions, comments? Brent, did you have any comments?
No, I think Dave spoke to a question, you know, if the promotional materials are, you know, kind of putting the emphasis of the ample parking at this location, this location, not this location.
Mhm.
That solves a lot of the concern I might otherwise have.
Mm-hmm.
it is to discourage the drinking and driving. So the whole point of us paying for the shuttles is to get people to and from their lodging, as close to their lodging as possible.
Makes sense.
Do you think, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
do you think people can walk down there from the north hotels?
Well, it's still kind of tough. We built a partial path, as you know, kind of servicing trips within the northern. One of these days, we might have a complete one, but not so much. I don't know, Andy.
Yeah.
They would have to use, you know, we have a bike path along the shoulder of the road. For people that might want to bike down, but that's pretty difficult just on the north end of it. Right up here of the central part of downtown, it's very narrow. That's something that we still have to work on, but realistically, it'd be pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, the only solution I'd come up with is to add a stop at North Ephraim, but that's up to you.
Did you consider that all, like a stop in the High Point? Or is it
Right
too
now,
late?
So the challenge is the timing, right? So the more stops we have, the longer it takes in between, and then the more it discourages people to use the buses. So
I get it.
It's a mix of things.
Is this the first time you're doing this?
This, we did it 2 years ago, and we went through the business council 2 years ago. We did it for Beer Fest last year. We have 2 events that we do. One is usually on Beer Ball, and the other one is not. So Beer Fest and Wine Fest kind of switch between which one is with Beer Ball and not. So this year, Wine Fest falls on the off Beer Ball weekend, so we're proposing it. Last year, we did Beer Fest. We did stop here.
And how many people would use this trolley?
There are a fair amount of people that use the trolley.
From last year's experience, do we have any feedback from the business owners locally?
I never heard any. Lane, did you? Or so
It's okay,
it's
Brent.
almost.
It's 10 p.m.
Kelsey.
No, we didn't hear too much. We had a few business owners reach out concerned that like parking might be being taken up for this. But I know I've talked to Brian on the phone and Dave already spoke to it tonight. So, as far as this year is concerned, I'm not concerned about it.
Okay. I'll take a motion.
Okay, I guess I'm the D. I move to accept the event application for the Door County Wine Festival shuttle stop at Beaver Village Hall from the Peninsula Pacers on Saturday, June 27th, 2026, from 10:45 a.m. to 4:15 p.m.
Thank you. And a second? Second. Thank you, Larry. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. I will say that the Door County Auditorium is getting big scissors for their opening up there.
Thanks, Dave. Looking out. It's always good to know what big scissors are.
All right, new business for next meeting or next meeting date. The next meeting date will be our standard date, 4th Tuesday, no changes in that. And if you have any new business now or get it to Brent prior to the next meeting or the next agenda. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second? Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.